hate that.
You hate Godzilla?
I hate God.
I love Godzilla.
When they don't.
From the top.
From the top.
Let's go.
I want to point out, though, today we're at the Focus Practice Management Studios. We're here with Sarah Wegener from Focus Practice Management. And to give some shout outs to Focus Practice Management, they've hooked us up with this great gear. We've got our own 6-minute increment shirts. I feel like we've made it.
Yep, we have. And there's even coffee mugs.
You know you've made it when you've got swag.
Right.
So credit to Focus Practice Management. Sarah.
How do you have your cup?
I've turned it around so that I can, I'm having to hold it with the left hand.
Right, it's a left-handed cup.
I'm trying to do some marketing sponsorship there by
All right,
putting the mug in the right
left-handed
spot.
today.
Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what Focus Practice Management is for those who aren't familiar?
My name is Sarah. I work at Focus Practice Management from the beginning. I was not prepped for this in advance. I'd like to share that.
That's the best way to have these types of interviews.
I hate talking about myself, so I'm just going to keep it simple. I've worked in the legal field for many years. I've worked kind of as just in office administration pretty much my whole life in some way or another. And
have you spent most of your career in the legal industry? I don't think I knew that.
I would guess. I would say probably. I mean, I've done a lot of different things. As Brett knows, I was a DJ at one point. I've tried a lot of
Sarah
things.
Sarah is diversified in her expertise.
At one point, I lived in London. I delivered sandwiches to the area businesses on my bike.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've done a few different things. But after college, kind of like I got into sales. I'm not a salesperson. Got out of that, and ever since that, I've been doing like office administration and legal. In some kind of
and you've even done paralegal services at different
times. Oh yeah, I do paralegal. Career. I mean, I've worked for mostly small firms when I've worked directly for a firm, and in those situations you have to do everything basically.
Now being here at Focus, what does your role with Focus entail? What does Focus do?
I mean, it kind of feels the same. It kind of feels like a little bit of everything, like a wide range of. It's also on the small end, so we have to be able to do everything from helping cover people that are out on their lunches to helping make huge decisions on like the direction of the business, helping our customers with paralegals that need help because maybe they have some kind of skill that I've used in the past that they don't have yet. I mean, I have to step in a lot for different things. So my title is Operations Manager. I think part of the reason that I have that title is because I do touch pretty much every part of what our business
You'll even
offers.
Help a company move. You help
I've
get
helped
movement.
Companies move.
You've got like contractors on speed dial. You've got a lot of resources back there.
So I do invoices, you do IT.
I do IT, I do accounting. Yeah, I do like full accounting, full.
You're a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Swiss Army knife. Sarah,
yes,
Swiss
I think
Army.
Brett has said that before.
I might have. And so your years of experience, at least working with us now, it's nearly 10 years.
It's getting close. I think this will be year 9.
Years, plus you've had other legal experience. I always like to find out, what's the weirdest thing you've ever experienced working with lawyers?
I mean, I don't want to get...
Nobody's going to find out.
Go there.
If anybody's worked in a law firm, that can be...
See, they all haven't.
Sketchy and like not legal stuff. Like lawyers have to follow ethics. They have... They take an oath. That's very important to them. They can easily get disbarred doing anything illegal or anything. So not on that breadth.
Right.
But just like, they're just a human. They have all the human interactions, things that can happen, addictions, things. Right. People do crazy stuff.
It's very prevalent in the profession. Very prevalent.
I think all of the licensed professions. The last I knew, we lead with substance abuse, addiction,
suicide.
No, that was dentists.
Okay.
We really weren't that high to end ourselves as much as get divorced. And we were prone to
alcoholism.
Right. We belong to the bar. I mean,
yes. But on like a more kind of cutesy note, I did work with an attorney that frequently fell asleep during his client meetings.
Well, that's fun.
No.
Just a little narcolepsy, but
I know a few lawyers like that.
Yes.
Actually. From your perspective, have you liked doing the paralegal work, the billing, the management, the office administration? What do you find the most interesting?
I mean, definitely where I've worked on, working in litigation is very stressful. Like a lot of times the most interesting parts of the work are also the most stressful because they have the biggest, I guess there's the biggest dichotomy of things that you have to know and do and be able to present. But
the stakes are high.
The stakes are high,
right.
and just it's such a huge process, and it takes so long, and it's very interesting if you've never been in it before.
I try to avoid it.
And then also, I worked with, when I worked with litigation, it was for educational cases. So usually you were representing children. And it just felt like, like such big stakes, like to get this child the education they need to like be able to get them either to a school where they could get what they needed or otherwise. So that was really interesting to learn all those things. I had no idea. I didn't have kids. And I think anybody that's in litigation or wants to be in a part of law that's interesting, I would say you have to be willing to put up with the pressure. It's very high pressure, but it's very interesting and also rewarding.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So at Focus, you work with lawyers as your clients.
Right.
But you've also worked in law firms where non-lawyers are your clients. Who's worse as a client base?
I don't want to alienate anyone. I say all these prefaces I have
so
to
nice.
every.
I know.
She's very
But
nice.
like lots of times if people need lawyers, there's other stuff going on. Like
Right.
there's kind of like some craziness, and it's just kind of, it almost seems like DNA, like you need special kind of there's special DNA that kind of goes and sees lawyers or has a lot to do with lawyers. And
people who see lawyers all the time, there's a group, we like those clients.
Yeah.
of course.
I guess, building off of this concept and what you were talking about before, the purpose of 6-minute increments was to help clients, help the public start to learn about what it's like to engage lawyers, to be billed by lawyers, to see what it's, how fast time goes by. And you have an interesting perspective on that. You've been on the legal side doing the billing,
Yeah.
but you've also been the person who has sent out those bills to clients and like had to interact with them afterwards through being the biller and then interacting with the clients about bills. What do you think that clients don't understand about legal billing? I mean, I think you put it right from the lawyer's perspective, we're highly stressed. But from the client's perspective, they're handing us their most difficult times in their life. What do you think that clients should think about when they do work with a lawyer from the, not complaints, but the commentary back?
I mean, I've had all different experiences in different law firms that I've worked at, and I mostly have not really had a lot of pushback. Like if you are doing your bills and you're being conscientious about what time you're putting in and how you're communicating with your clients, there really isn't an issue generally. I mean, do people make mistakes? Do things happen? Yes. And then you figure out where the mistake was made, you own up to it, and you figure out how to take care of that. So I don't really see, like, that's not where I see like the biggest the biggest problem that maybe clients have when working with their attorneys is like they expect them to be available at all times, maybe, or kind of like my issue is the most important thing that's happening right now, and for them it is.
For them it is.
Absolutely. And
but they don't really want it where we're making a career off of them. And that's the hard part.
Right.
That for the clients, they think, and it is their biggest issue, and I think we're all sensitive to that. But at the same time, if we did work for nobody else, and they were supposed to keep our mortgage paid and our lights on and our kids go to college, I doubt they would like that bill, which I guess is where the balance comes from.
right. Well, and then that's where the back end comes in, like your administratives and even your paralegals, and to some degree, like they're there kind of to be the client contact when they can't really talk to their attorney and they're really stressed. A lot of times, a lot of attorneys, I believe, should count on their administrative assistants to be able to talk to their clients and explain, this is what's happening with your attorney and this is what we can do. And, and a lot of times that's all they need. They really, a lot of times just need someone to listen to them for a little bit. So I think finding an attorney that has a good admin should be your goal when you're a client, because that's who you're gonna want to talk to, and then you're not gonna get billed for that either.
Right.
That was the point. Actually, my administrative assistant Liz was on the show, and that was her point. And I think oddly, clients don't always like that. They don't really realize you want the paralegal and to include the legal assistant. Yeah, how often do you get it where they only will email you, not CC anybody else on a message?
I tell them the same thing that my assistant could have told them for free, but because they insisted on having me make the call, they're getting a bill for it. And it's, I try to educate them about that, and it's not, you're not important to me, so I won't pick up the phone. I'm trying to be mindful of your bill and send somebody who will either cost less or cost nothing to convey the same information.
Right. And studies have shown that the law firms that spend the most on their administrative staff actually have the higher billing numbers than the firms that don't spend the money on it.
Well, we end up writing off all that time. A lot of the times you'll look at that and you're trying to be conscientious about the bill, and you're like, is this legal work? And so we're billing in 6-minute increments, but then have huge write-offs.
Because you don't, again, you have this oath and you have these ethics that you have to uphold, and you're not going to charge your clients, and you're going to run into problems trying to charge your clients for that time.
Right.
Over the years you've been in the legal industry, what trends, what things have you seen that have changed? I mean, you've got a lot of years of experience. What have you seen change the most that maybe, to your point, about people not knowing about the education law and they go to get the lawyer with their kid, what things don't clients, businesses, people realize about the legal industry that you've seen?
I guess my perspective is from working in the legal industry. And I think just in general, overall, obviously technology has changed like so dramatically. Even though a lot of the same stuff I do a lot of research into programs and software and IT things I have since I'm working for like the smallest firm because there's no one else to do it, maybe looking at some of the same things, but the vast amount of choices that are available now, how many, tech companies there are, and techs, all these different
I don't use
ways
paper
of doing
anymore.
Things. Yeah.
Beth doesn't use paper. No more paper.
I think there's been like an epidemic of choice that's also it's nice, but technology has changed in some ways great and in some ways overwhelming, and that's the biggest change I've seen.
Do you think that lawyers across the spectrum are focusing enough on that tech, or do you see that that's a good way to help manage the client bills?
I think it depends on the attorney and the firm, but certainly some people are just more tech savvy and they gravitate towards those types of things, and then there's people that cannot deal with it at all and they'd rather just not, and they want to keep things simple because bringing tech in can make things more complicated, and then there's a lot of training and just extra stuff that has to happen. There's
change.
And
people fear
change.
Lawyers in particular,
Yes.
just like change. We have a principle, it's called stare decisis. We really don't change.
Right.
So there's all different facets of it, and it just kind of depends on the firm and the people working in it.
For clients and customers, do you think that they should ask? I've never thought about it this way, but should they be vetting counsel somewhat on the technology that they're incorporating?
I feel like it's a personal decision on it. There's pros and cons. Certainly AI is like this huge explosion right now, but everybody that's in the world of AI knows that it can't be trusted really. So there's a level to it that's amazing on how quickly you can do things, but technically it's not there. Like the amount of errors was the amount of hallucination is what they call when AI tells you lies all day long, is very high. So you want a firm, if there's any way to vet that, who's cautious. Kind of like, Wegmans in our area, they always say their goal is to use technology, but they don't want to be first users. They want to be following the footsteps of a tried and true technology. So I'd say that maybe is a way to go if you're cautious. Some people think it's great and they think it's going to give their attorney's a competitive edge if they're over the other attorney who's more cautious. I don't know. It really just kind of depends.
My personal experience has been so far, what it's really good at is some of the document review and the ability to draw you to a spot so that you can double check it. I think it's about double checking what it has pulled up to make sure that you would agree with it. But
just like you would double check a young associate's.
Correct. Right. So from the more senior lawyer's perspective, I don't find the AI much different than having a younger lawyer. I would ask them something and they would go get it. And sometimes they were wrong, so we always had to double check and you would ask them questions. I think what it does is it reads faster than other humans can read. So we had a document review. It was 13 documents, hundreds of pages. What would have taken either 10 lawyers days or one lawyer a week, I got done in an hour and 36 minutes. And I could double check it. So those are the ways that I think we see to build that into our practice. But I 1,000% agree. You definitely have to double check it. And we've started to implement closed AI because the open AI formats do think independently sometimes. It's probably the
like the legal I guess what the studies have shown that the legal AIs have a much lower rate of hallucination.
There's fewer things that they're pulling from.
Right.
It's a smaller world.
Right. So I mean, it would behoove any law firm to take advantage of that. I mean, because it's not just the references that you're able to double check, but also what's it missing, I guess. And that's even without it. Now you're either missing things, spending weeks of work, or you're possibly missing things with hours of work.
That's an interesting. I mean, I think, and she and I have talked about this. I had the same problem with a lawyer. If there was an inexperienced lawyer, they would often miss things and we would have to send them back. So I look at it, and your 2 cents has been to have, you would talk to the AI like we would to a young lawyer and ask it to go back and relook. That's where the double checking from the experience world comes from. I don't think it can replace experience and decision making, tactics, strategy, but the research element
and the writing element.
And the writing element in particular is excellent it doesn't make grammatical errors.
Right. Or typos.
Or typos. Which frankly a lot of clients see. I mean, I think over the years where I have experienced, and I don't know what you've seen, clients only understand a small percentage of what's on a legal document. It's not really written for them. It's written for a judge to enforce. So to the extent they can see something, usually what they pick up on are typos or grammatical errors. Same thing for billing. I mean, they'll pick up on that versus the technical aspects of the legal document. If they understood that, they wouldn't need a bunch of lawyers.
Right.
So, I don't know. That's been my 2 cents on the...
Just looking at it from afar, it seems like it doesn't seem worth the paying an extra, $20,000 in legal fees to not use AI, to be honest.
Right. It is short-circuiting that process. But I guess going back to the business side for law firms, how do you think that law firms are going to augment their own bottom line? We're in business too. Now that we've been billing on hourly rates, and this is where a lot of your hours were going, how do you think the law firms are going to change as a result of AI to offset the loss in revenue?
Well, partially what's going to happen is overhead's going to go up because AI is not cheap.
It's very expensive.
Right.
The good stuff. Yeah.
So how law firms are going to build that in, higher hourly rates or more fixed rates where it's less hourly. I'm going to guess maybe towards more fixed rates because it just seems to make more sense.
Or maybe technology fees for the firms that invest in that, but it reduces the time spent. How do you think that'll be received by clients?
What's funny is that they're going to hate it, but every other industry is doing it, and we just do it.
They're going to hate it, but they're going to save thousands in time.
Yeah, I think it's context.
It'll probably be an education process.
For new clients who have never engaged lawyers, they will probably be shocked. For people who are regularly engaged with law firms and lawyers, they will appreciate the decrease in their bills. Even though there's a tech fee, it would be less than what the hours would come out to.
Right. Or what, because everything's, always usually relative to the original cost. And we know legal fees are expensive. So a tech fee, if you're going to just kind of...
We're expensive.
Right. Like in the example of Brett's project where, something that manually would have taken maybe 20 hours took an hour and a half.
It would have been even more. And so you saved thousands and thousands of dollars by using this versus
like
the other side.
5 figures, not 4
Right.
figures. So I think if clients understood, you'll an upfront tech fee, which is a nuisance and expensive, it could save you literally tens of thousands though as the project unfolds.
And honestly, it can kind of cover the range. It's not just AI. Technology is just expensive in general. There's so many things to use this technology for. I mean, across the board in your law firm. So, I mean, to have your overhead is, just like for the kids that now need their iPads and their phones and
iReady. That's like every school. I checked another school last night. More iReady.
Everything's just more expensive with technology across the board. So that's just we're all gonna have to pay for it some way or another.
Well, speaking of technology and making sure that we also keep people's bills in line and order, and we get back to billing. We want to thank you for participating today in 6-minute increments.
Thanks for having me.
It was great having you, being here at Focus Practice Management. We're trying to boost our marketing here, so
like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with an enemy.
Share with an enemy, Jill.
Sharing is caring.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good day.